Hi there, Tracy. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are August 27th, 2025, Season 6, EP11, show number 100.
Wow, we made it. We made it. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Can you imagine? Started 6 years ago, and we were saying, let's get in this playpen, and 100 shows later, here we are.
Yeah, I know. It
How
doesn't feel
are
like 100
you doing?
I'm doing okay. I was trying to keep everything on mute because of the vacuums in the background. So
Gotcha.
I'm doing okay. I actually have kind of come in with a little bit of a thorn in my side today, that I thought, well, maybe we'll end up discussing it.
What?
Because it's around communication and timeliness. So
Okay.
I went back and forth on whether I should send an email to a past client of mine. And because, we can oftentimes say that there's things that are kind of irking us, but we downplay it. We say, well, God, in the whole scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. And like, I just need to get over myself and what that does, it actually downplays our emotional intelligence. It downplays our instinctive intelligence. It downplays those other things because our head is like trying to dictate that, oh, this is not as important, right? And it's the head that prioritizes importance a lot of times. It's like it organizes, right? And systematizes.
Yeah.
So it's, you think, oh, that's not that big a deal. Why am I making it a big deal? Well, then why do I feel the way I do? And so what I tend to do is I sit with it and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? Because it's always something bigger than the story at play. It's always. And in my life, I've oftentimes done that whole, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. But then what happens is those things pile up. And then the pile becomes a big deal. Because like the individual things are not that big of a deal, but you get a whole bunch of them and then it becomes a bigger deal. Yep. And so I was playing around with this whole thing. I had completed a program with her, and I will reach out to clients and say, are you willing to write a recommendation for me, based on the fact you've worked with me for a year and this and that. And she quickly, said, oh, yes, I would. Well, this is over a month ago. And nothing. Right. And I sent a little birdie reminder and all of that kind of thing, because I do believe, that's part of my system, right? Correct. Part of being a coach is being accountable, right? And holding accountability, even if I'm no longer, quote unquote, working with this client actively, that's what I do. People don't have to say yes, but if you say yes, and then you just ghost and, first of all, I just want to start with the reason most of my life I haven't said things about it, because I know that stuff happens in life. I know there's priorities. Communicate them, because what we don't realize is this whole ghosting thing that has become just people are like, well, I've changed my priorities, so I'm not even going to communicate that to people. I'm not even going to tell them. I don't need to know that your parents came into town and all. I don't need to know the details. Just say, I'm so sorry. I know this is on my list. Or just so you know it's on my list. I'm going to get to it in the next week or the next month or whatever. But communicate and be clear with what you say yes to. And if you can no longer say yes to it, come back and communicate that. But this dangling stuff, that's what I realized was irking me, is these people who do things. And again, it's not bad people. I'm not criticizing or judging the person. It's the behavior.
That's the behavior.
It's that we have to realize when we just don't prioritize communicating about things that we have said yes to, or that we have told people we will do for them, or we've told people we're going to be there, or whatever. Things do happen, but communicate that, as I've said. So this lack of communication, and again, it's one of the biggest issues I see in leadership, is people, either their communication style is not working, let's just put it that way. Their lack of communication is a problem, right?
Yeah.
That and both sides are true. What is being communicated might need to be refined, but what is not being communicated also needs to be looked at.
Wow.
Because what that does is it builds a lack of trust. And what I said to this person in the email is, I'm reaching out to say something because this relationship matters to me. Right? It's not just about me being upset. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about the fact that you said you would do something. It has been over a month and I haven't heard even anything on me checking back in. Right? There's just no acknowledgement.
Wow.
And what that does to people, it doesn't matter whether it's a big thing or a little thing. It makes people feel they don't matter. And so when I say this relationship matters to me, and it's okay if you can't do this, just tell me. I'm not going to take it personally. If you decided you don't want to or can't or whatever, but this whole thing is about communication, because I want to know where I stand with people. What I can't stand is when we show up and we put things into things. And somebody put a post up, one of my colleagues and friends put a post up today about the type of networking that she wants to see. And, no more of these just, coffee chats that don't go anywhere. And and she says, what are you struggling with? She's kind of asking her LinkedIn network, what are you struggling with? And one of the things that I shared is that I struggle with finding people who really truly want to cultivate relationships so that those relationships are top of mind, right? When they're having conversations, and they're willing to say, I think you should talk to Tracy, because that's how I do it. When I meet people, it isn't just, oh, let's have like, I don't want to have another, I don't even drink coffee. Like I don't want to have another coffee just to get to know somebody. I mean, I have coffee with them to get to know them. If I really truly feel they are referable in my mind, I can attach my name to their work. They are always front of mind for me. I'm always going to be taking them into meetings. And I want to meet other people like that, because I find a lot of times it's the new and shiny syndrome. You're a new connection and you're shiny because you're new, and people are like, "Ooh, it's so nice to meet you, and let's do this," and then they fly off into the sunset. And I'm not saying I stick with those who I want to continue to have relationship with. And I'm looking for other people to do that too, because I think that's when the real connections can happen. That's when, but I find that it's very, very challenging, to meet the people who do it like that. A lot of it is just they would rather be constantly meeting new people. And I think if we're not forming those relationships, then we really don't know. I mean, how many people do we know, or how many times do where you're like, oh, I didn't see that in that person, and it's someone we've known for a while. So it takes time, and especially if you're referring them professionally. And so I don't know. I mean, all of this is, I guess, saying that the thorn in my side today is around I want to meet with people who aren't just okay receiving, they're
Mm.
truly authentically ready to give. Because those of
Wow.
us who give so much can be easily taken advantage of. Even when it,
Wow.
it's like you give it your all, you communicate, you show up, and then people just don't do that for you, it gets really old really fast.
Mm. Mm, 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 mm. I so the next question I have is, during your engagement with this individual, did you see any traces of what you're seeing now?
I mean, not to this extent. She has a very stressful job and it takes
Okay.
a lot of bandwidth. But
Gotcha.
even when I would do my accountability check-ins, she might not get right back to me, but she got back to me, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
and so it was a timely thing, but I think a lot of people like again, they're just like, "Oh my god, I've got so many fires in my life. This thing is not important compared to all of these things." And so they
Yes.
just keep nudging it down the list, but they don't communicate that. It's like if
Yes.
I were to say, "We'll win," we're meeting for lunch, let's say, and I'm going to be there at noon, and then things happen. It would be like me not telling you, and you're sitting
Yeah.
there waiting for me at lunch,
Ooh.
and meanwhile you don't know that I've got 10 alarm fires going on because I didn't
Yeah.
communicate that. Like you could have been like,
Yeah.
we will reschedule. It is not a problem, but don't have somebody wait. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there waiting for this person to write this recommendation, but I'm
True.
aware that it's hanging out there and there
It's
hasn't been
hanging.
communication. That's the thing. It's not,
Yeah.
I'm not this person like, I just need one more, no, it's the whole premise of it. It's that we say we're going to do something and we don't, and what we don't realize that erodes self trust, that erodes trust with others, but it
Mm.
also erodes self trust because
Wow.
we unconsciously, every time we don't show up for other people, we know that. We know when we're not showing up for other people. We know when we're putting
Hmm.
people off. We know when we're not taking accountability for something that we said we would do. We know that, and that erodes self trust.
Yeah, that's true. That I have a different, I have another rather, in another example, or I think it's the culture sometimes. I find you're asking people to, I'm asking people to meet me here at the house or meet me at a particular location. And I go there or I'm waiting, it passes the time, and hey, Carl, how are you?
Hey, Carol.
I hope all is well.
Good
Good to
afternoon.
see you again, brother. They tell you that they will be there. You get there, and I think it's mostly when I'm here and I'm going to the farm or taking someone somewhere for my benefit. They have a service, but they don't know how to get there. So I was like, I'm gonna wait for you here, and then we get there. We go. Tracy, when I first got here, I mean, my entire day would go. They say I'll be there at 12, and I'm sitting here at 12, 1, 2. I'm like, and I call, and then that's when the golden really occurs. They don't even answer the phone. So I'm going, oh my goodness. And I am the one here brooding now, and then it finally clicked. Why are you waiting? They're not the only people who can do this job. So go ahead, do what you have to do. If they come, tell them, here are the markers. Here's the location. Come there and meet me. If you can't meet me, sorry. Or you fire them before they even start working for you. So I started doing that. And I tell you, it took a whole lot of weight off me, where I would wait in. As soon as the meeting time arrives, I call, they don't, I go, oops, that's one of them again. I'm in the car, I'm going, and they call 2 hours later. And then I say to myself, thank goodness I've got the wisdom to have left that location, or else my time would have been wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I'm talking this, there's another piece forming in my mind where you you're hanging out with people, who don't appreciate what you bring to the table.
Mhm.
And if they don't appreciate what you bring to the table, you're there at the table and they're bringing something to the table also. But in this case, you're the one who's going to push into their lives. And you're saying, come, come, come. I've got something to explain to you. I've got something to say to you. I've got some. And you're whining, you are crying, you are demanding. And then all of a sudden, just go, hold up. They're the ones who need this. Yes, I want to give it, but there's nobody to give. So I'm going to find people who honor what I have. And, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about in the Bible, when Christ goes to a place and they don't respect, no miracles were done. He just said, oh, I'm not even going to speak in this place. I'm going to the next place. Right. So the beautiful things that we have, the beautiful gifts that we have, not because you have the gift and you know that you need to give the gift, but you shouldn't give your gift to people who don't honor your gift,
Right. Well, and we
because
can't always.
if they don't honor it, they aren't going to use it. I mean,
Right.
I went two steps ahead, and it's not the example of what you're going through, what you're talking about with the ghosting, but it's you just I had that system. I have that system.
Mhm.
After pre, you get in, you on board, you go through the process. The end of the process is give the referral or the testimony rather, that says, before I worked with Tracy, I didn't have the knowledge to explore myself and truly go within myself to understand the leader that I am, and blah, blah, blah. After working with Tracy, I mean, it's good. And I
There's
and
value there because
yeah,
other people don't know you and can get to know you through someone else's
yes,
experience, right? And
yes,
that's the give back. When you have given yourself, I mean, sure, you're getting paid for it and all that. So it's not like you didn't get
yeah,
anything. But I mean, that's the thing, is it's like when you show up, and I'm not doing it to get the recommendation. I'm doing it because that's what I do. Like, this is already an
correct.
established relationship. This isn't
Uh-huh.
somebody who's not showing up for me because of the one time this is someone I've had a relationship with for a year and have worked with closely for a year. So this is the already established relationships,
Mhm,
where
mhm,
it's people show up for you, they call you, they invite you, or they're coming to me and saying, and they sign the contract, and yes, I want to work with you, and they show up and they work with you, and then,
mhm,
right, you've
mhm,
already invested the time,
mm, mm,
right?
mm,
My piece and what I celebrate is that I typically would not have sent that email. I would
mm,
have been like, I know she's busy. I know, and she'll either get around it or she wouldn't, but it would still, and then it would, because I've had so many people. I mean, I think most of us have. Like, it's just, there's a lot of people in the world and we have a lot of experiences. I've had so many people do this. I've had so many people seek me out. I want to go have lunch, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And then when I, say, okay, well, how about that? And then, oh, I can't. And I'm like, well, I'm not chasing you down. Like, I mean, but it's lost time. And I think at the same time, it just doesn't feel. I said to my daughter the other day, yesterday actually, we were talking and she was sharing something, and I needed to process it because it was like,
mhm,
whoa, this is new information. And she goes, why do you have that look on your face? And I said, I'm processing. I said, you don't
mhm,
get to tell me how I can process. I said, I'm not thrusting anything on you. This is like, if my processing is on my face, that's for me, right? If you don't like
uh-huh,
it, sorry. You just told me something that is I'm gonna have to, consider. And as we were talking, I finally said to her, I said, you know what? I just don't feel like you're respecting me,
mm,
right? You don't have to like, what I have to say. You don't, but I, for all that I have been in your life, I would hope that you could know how to respect me and
mm,
respect that I'm going to take my time to think about this. I'm going to take my time to get back.
mm,
I'm respecting you, and that you're 18 and you get to make your own decisions now. You get to respect me because we're coming into a new relationship as adult child and adult parent. But that doesn't mean we lose respect for one another. And I'm
Yeah.
not demanding you respect. I would like to believe that you want to respect me for the love and care and everything that we've had in this relationship. That's what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the respect.
Mm.
You know, what it does when you don't take the time to communicate is it communicates lack of respect.
Mm.
And I know, I mean, I remember having conversations with people in Europe about that. They're like, you Americans have no respect. Like, you don't respect
Mm.
yourselves. You don't respect, you know, and at first it was kind of like, whoa, that's a bit
Yeah.
much, you know, okay, let me think about that for a second. But, you know, in a lot of ways, they're right. Like, some of my European friends are so much more reliable
Mm.
than Americans that I know.
Wow.
And you know, they have staying power. They're there for you. You know, it may take a while to get to know them, but
Mm.
once you're in, they value that relationship, and they show you that they value that relationship.
Wow.
And I think what the thorn in my side is just that I'm feeling like people don't realize how their lack of communication is so disrespectful. It
Yeah.
basically does. It sends the signal you don't matter. And I
Yes.
should not have to qualify that ghost. I shouldn't have to say, "Oh, I know the person's really busy. Oh, I know that." I shouldn't have to do that. I can because I have an open, generous heart, but I shouldn't have to. Every time somebody just chooses not to communicate, I have to take, you know, I have to be the one to be generous in my interpretation. I'm going to be, but that onus shouldn't be on me, right?
You know, yeah, I'm
Not if you
hearing
value
you.
the relationship, and it just tells me you don't if you're not gonna spend the time.
I hear, I'm thinking on the scenario, and this is a far off scenario, I would believe. There are when people are bereaved. So, example, someone passes from you, and you get a lot of calls. There are a flood of calls coming in, and you just can be on top of them. You're not on top of them. There are and this is the reverse effect. There are some people who expect you to be answering your phones during that time to say, "Oh yeah, hi, you're important. Thank you." At that moment, you need to understand that the bereaved person, is really going through something traumatic,
Yep.
going through something so traumatic that they will get to it. Because I remember when my dad passed, I kept being on top of it, being on top of it, and then I couldn't be on top of it anymore. I couldn't be on top of the text. I couldn't be on top of the calls, the voicemails. I couldn't be I couldn't empty because then the voicemail fills up and you can't leave a message or the text. By I think a year, was it a year later? Was when I got on top of it, where I was replying and saying, "I apologize, I didn't get to you. Uh, Please, don't hold this again." I wasn't even saying don't hold it against me. I was like, "Sorry for getting to you this late. Thank you so much for thinking about us in this time." I I get the this part where, as you were saying, is I'm thinking on the things that I have to do for for so we have the family we have an organization, the family organization, and I've put my hand up to do something. And as you're saying this, the bulb was just just the red siren just wow, wow, wow. Remember, you said you were going to do this. You have to do it because we can't. Charity begins at home. It begins at home. It begins with the family. If I'm disrespecting them, and that's true. I mean, I am disrespecting them. I had to close my mouth, and who's going to do this? But I went, I'll do it. I'll do it. And it's been a while now, and every now and then they ask, "What's up with this?" And I'm, oh, okay, okay. I that's rude. That's disrespectful. So, okay, Tracy, I get it. I'm going to jump on it.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing it up because I felt the same way. I think people are well intentioned, but that is the last thing you want to do is talk to people when you're grieving.
Oh
I mean,
man.
it's just it's exhausting just to get up in the
Ooh,
morning sometimes right after that happens, and like, everybody really they want to help, but that it doesn't feel helpful. It feels overwhelming, and
yeah.
so, but that's not what we're talking about here. I
I
think
know. I know.
that's that I appreciate that, and I think it's important that we look at all that. But I think that's a lot of times also why we, like, I get it, I understand they must be busy, they must be, but then every time we do that, and it's still legitimately bothering us. What I'm celebrating is I communicated. So if I am upset about not having communication, I need to be communicating, right?
You.
We tend to look out and say that person's not doing X, but then we're not doing it. So it's like if
Mhm.
I am upset because somebody's not communicating with me and I'm not communicating my feelings to them, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm celebrating, is to say, like I said, it's not a big deal. But if you really, I mean, we all know it takes 2 seconds to say, I have so much stuff right now. I am going to get to this. I hear you. I still want to do it. Or
Yeah.
I just can't. Like, can, are you
I
okay with
know.
me not doing it? And if I get the time, I will do it. But whatever, like, speak your truth. Speak your truth.
Mm.
And I think
Mm.
we all need to be able to do that more, is speak our truths. When people say, oh, somebody really needs to talk to you, but I don't know how to introduce you. It's like, well, what are you feeling? Why do you think they really need to talk to me? Well, because
Mm.
this, and this. Tell them that.
Yes.
Tell them
Yes.
that. They're either going to do it or they're not. But, we're so afraid to communicate. I mean, we went through such a long period of time of, socially appropriate, or what is it? What is that? I can't think of it right now. It's like, it's not
Um,
uh,
politically correct.
politically correct. Like, I think we have PTSD when it comes to communication now. It's like we can't just communicate our hearts and our minds and
Oh.
do it in a loving way. Like, I mean, my email was just like, hey, I'm doing this because this relationship matters, and that this is a big part of leadership, is being able to, like,
Mm.
if you say you're going to do something, communicate when you might have a different timeline all of a sudden get thrown at you. But
Mm.
I'm doing it because I feel the need to share with you
Mm.
how this experience is affecting me. And again, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's a big deal. What is a big deal is that we communicate. And I think
Mhm.
we don't downplay. If it's bothering us, say it. Like, but say it in a way you're taking responsibility for it.
Yeah.
You made
Yeah.
me feel. That is not effective communication. You're
Mm.
doing this and it's not, you don't value me, you're disrespect. Okay, that's not effective communication.
Mm.
But saying,
Mm.
this is the meaning I'm giving this. I've reached out once. You said yes. I reached out to remind you. I've heard nothing, and it's been almost a month and a half.
Yeah.
Just, if you can't do it, just tell me. But I value communication. I value clarity, and is kindness. And I'm
Mm.
asking if you could be clear with me on this.
Is
And
this person alive?
yeah, they're alive.
Okay. Okay.
They
Good.
go to
Good.
work every day. They show up for their job. They do all
Okay.
the
Okay.
stuff. You know,
Okay.
um,
Wow.
you
Wow.
know, and or people who are like, oh, something came up. I'm so sorry. My dad came into town. Can we reschedule? And then they just never get back to you. And you're like, it's okay. I move on with my life. But you've just told me something about you, and I probably
Mm.
want to keep walking, to be honest,
Correct. Correct.
because I don't have time for that. I I
Mm.
I, I understand that we may need to change plans. That is, I'm as flexible as
Mm.
anybody, but you need to communicate with me.
That's
I'm
true.
done putting up with people who just want to keep, and it's a pattern,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Da 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 da. I hear you. Look, how's Madison? How is Madison? How is Madison? Has she gone on campus yet?
She is. She's actually at school. She's
Ah,
we I got to see her. I've seen her a couple times. I actually saw her yesterday. Um
okay.
she I was in Raleigh for an
Uh-huh.
event, and I was 8 minutes down the road. And I was like, "Hey, do you want me to swing by? It was dinner time, and take you out to dinner." She's like, "Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. I've been eating in the cafeteria for almost a week." So we went and we went shopping a little bit and got some healthy snacks, and
So where is she?
she's
NC
at NC
State?
State. She's at NC State.
Okay, okay. Hey, go Wolfpack.
Yeah.
What does empty nester mean to you now that you're experiencing it?
Um, again, she was at home last night, so it's just felt kind of like, when she goes to the beach and like is gone for a little bit.
Gotcha.
But I think for me, what I've noticed is a shift now as a mother,
Mm,
just a mental shift and saying,
right.
okay, where do I legitimately and intentionally want to place my energy? Because I just raised this child and she's been in my home, and anybody who is a parent and has a child living at home, even when they get to certain ages, like, you're thinking about them, you're wondering where they are, you're doing things for them, like, they're
Mhm.
still under your care. And it's not that she
Yeah,
isn't under my care anymore, but it's just
correct.
different. What gets my care and attention? And maybe that's why this whole thing is coming up that I was just talking about is,
Mhm.
it's kind of this shift of where do I choose to put my energy and effort, because I'm starting to really, really discern at a different level what's worth
Mm.
my time and what is decidedly not worth my time.
Oof.
And
Mm.
I think I need to be able to be a little bit strict with myself and
Mm.
say, you don't need to be giving where you're not getting,
Mm.
and we don't give to get. But let's
Correct.
be honest, if we're just giving and we're not getting anything in return, we're going to bleed out. And we're choosing to do that, right? We're choosing to
Yeah.
give to relationships or things that it's just a take situation.
Mm.
Or you're getting meagerly, they give meagerly back, like it's not even valuable what they give you. You give them $100 and they give you a penny, kind of thing. That it's like, no offense, but that's not very valuable to me.
Correct.
um
You know.
that kind of level of discernment of where I place my time and energy, and the give back. Like, I was walking the dogs yesterday in the morning because it's been so cool here and nice.
Mhm.
And one of the things I've started doing is taking trash bags to pick up trash.
Okay.
And so I had forgotten my trash bag because I have two dogs, and like it's not easy to have a trash bag and dogs and stuff. So,
Correct.
I'm like, all right. And I came across some trash, but then I came across like an empty, you know, convenience store bag. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just use this and pick it. So
Put it in.
I'm kind of like trying to manage the trash and the bag and the dogs, and I was, you know, I had leaned down to pick something up, and this woman is coming by. I guess I was right by her driveway.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, looks like you're having a little trouble there." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to manage the trash." I mean, she's like, "Oh, you're a better person than me." She's like, "I wouldn't bother picking up the trash, especially with the dogs." But then she said, "But let me take that trash off your hands. I mean, I just live right up here, and I'll just throw it right in the trash can, and not a
Uh-huh.
big problem. That way you can enjoy the rest of your walk." And I said, "Well, yeah, I was just going to try to get it up to the end of the community, and then I was going to come back and get it in the car."
And
I said, "That's lovely. That would be wonderful." And I was thinking as I walked off, I'm like, this, because I chose to pick up trash, I got to have this engagement with somebody
mhm.
who's not a direct neighbor, but she lives in our community.
Correct.
And it was just a connection.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it was a short one, but it's still, that's what I feel like, when we can make those connections, they don't always have to be about something like getting us, you know, a job, or, like those bigger things. Sometimes those little connections, like, hey, let me take that off your hands,
Yeah. Yeah. You
is what
know,
life is all about.
you prior when you were talking about the empty nester and you're looking to see how to use your time and be strict and disciplined with it, I put in there, use your energy wisely. Don't waste your energy, because it's, I think time and energy, those things are such valuable resources that if we use it properly, if we steward them properly, I think there are high returns, high investments, and high returns. Now, when you're talking about relationships, so we started building the bakery, uh, and so you got sand and steel rods and cement and all these things, and people are working, digging. But if I tell you how the favor of relationships, the favor is helping, you would be amazed.
Mm.
The cement cost roughly 8.30 a bag, $8.30 a bag, US. Because the guy who is on in charge of the project,
Mm.
his there's this kid who comes with him in the car every now and then on site. And I look at him and say, "Hey, how are you? How's everything?" "Oh, good." When we were talking about the cement, he goes, "Oh, my uncle, my uncle is the managing director of XYZ Cement Company." And I go, "Yeah, right," in my heart, because I'm in the front, he's in the back. I go, "Yeah, right. Your uncle is the managing director." So I quickly get on my phone and I search for this cement corporation, and I see the name, and I change the name completely because I'm looking at the name. So I said, Jeremiah Waltman. He says, "No, not Jeremiah Waltman. His name is John Pickering." He calls the name, and I go, "Oh, this guy really knows this guy." So I go, "Okay." And he says, "Hold on. Uncle." And I hear, da 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 da. Yeah, with a client. So that 830, that 850 is too expensive. We need a better price. Yeah, okay. When you're ready, come and see me. We go and see him. The price is completely different, Tracy, because of and it's a huge amount that I'm talking about. But it's and it's not just that. It's the sand of load going to the sand quarry and bringing and transporting the sand. The favor there, all because you were talking about the relationship with this lady who you just happened to speak, and she saw you. I know when she sees you, can, hey lady, trash lady, or whatever, dog walker. But she knows you now, and she has something in her mind. I wasn't speaking to this kid because I wanted something. I was just, "Hey, my man, what's up? What's going on? Is everything okay?" Recognizing him. So it's so important to recognize people, no matter their status in life.
Yeah.
Because Tracy, have you seen this kid? This this young man, he was just in the back of the car, just he's about 25 and nothing to offer. He's with the site manager. They're talking, and I'm singing, and I look at him, "Hey, how are you?" And then he comes and he gives me 60 cents off per bag. I mean, what? Because of being seen. Now, there in Liberia, there's you can either go and buy the blocks, or you can make the blocks yourself. So there are 6 young men who are making the blocks here. And Tracy, I tell you, it's just on my heart. In the evening, I just go and sit with them and just talk. What's going on in your lives? Tell me how. Because believe it or not, I'm not doing this because in the future one of them will be a millionaire and I'm going to be so poor and I'm going to meet them and I'll say, "Please, you remember me," right? It's just to invest my energy and time, because they would never have this chance to have this conversation with me, and
Mm.
I would never have this captive audience of them when they're working and they're resting, and I go in there and say, "Hey, I want to invest in y'all. Tell me what's on your mind." And it happened to me years ago when an older person would sit me down and give me wise words. And those wise words is I'm thinking of my aunt here. I'm leaving for America, and she tells me, "Walwyn, yeah, come here." And I go, she says, "When you go to America, you're not going to make babies." And I go, "What?" She says, "You're not going to make babies. You're not even going there to gain stardom." I'm like, "What you doing?" She says, "Just listen to me." She gave me a plethora of "you're not, you're not, you're not." And all she said in the end, "You're going there to get an education and be a better man in the future." And believe it or not, Tracy, those words, when I was in the States at school, when my buddies would come and say, "Hey man, the party's going on, or we going in the yard," and I'm there at Howard looking down in the yard and everybody's partying, and I've got Calculus 3 on my on the desk in the library. I'm like, "Okay, I'm coming." And then all I can hear is, "You're not going to America to party. You're not going to do this. You're going to get an education to be a better person." Now, believe it or not, and I'm going to pun to you there after, right after this. All my buddies who were partying and they would laugh at me saying, "Man, at the end when we were graduating, I had roughly 8 to 10 offers ranging, this is 1998, ranging from 45 to $65,000. Most of them had one at $30,000. And it was because they went through the system, not because they were partying. No, because you can party and study.
Yeah, sure. You can
You
do
can
both.
party, you can do it. You can do both of them. I know my sister did. I know I did too, but I didn't get the grades that I really wanted. But hey, but they didn't apply. And it shows even till today where they're still here at, and I'm talking about in terms of in the industry. They're still here in this at this level, and all those people who applied themselves are rising and rising and rising.
Mm.
What am I saying here? Relationships matter, engaging with people matter. Auntie told me, "You're not going there to do this, you're going there to become a better man," you know?
Yeah, well, and I think it's what we choose to prioritize. I mean, and it's the
Yeah.
whole thing about you have two wolves, which one grows? What's the one you feed? And
Mm,
I think if we're going to feed our attention, energy, time, whatever, our resources into something, then that's what grows. So if we feed it into our spirituality, that's what grows. If we feed it into our children, that's what grows. If we
mm,
feed it into like whatever, wherever we put our energy is is like growth serum. I
mm.
mean, wherever we focus that energy, that it grows. If we focus on the "oh how awfuls," we watch the news and it grows. We have more to say "oh how awful" about. It's literally that. So I think when I say that I'm becoming more very strictly discerning about
Mhm.
what I'm willing to, I'm not willing to put in energy into being irritated either. If there's something that's irritating me, I'm going to communicate it. I mean, I'm
Yes.
not immediately, but if it's not going away and it's something that needs to be said, then I'm going to. And people, and I think I'm reclaiming that back because I was always like that as a young kid and I got in trouble for it. And I think I
Mm.
have PTSD over that because I was so like pounded for being honest. And
Wow.
I'm gaining that back because it's part of how I was designed to be
Yeah.
is to speak kindly, to speak clearly, to speak
Mm.
with grace, but also to speak truth.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so part of it is like you can take it really, I mean, what you do with what I say is not my business, but it is my business to say it if it's meant to be said. And that's what I've realized is these things that have And I'm saying it because I think there's a lot of people who probably feel this, is we let
Mm,
things stack within us, and it feels to me like those are all things I should have said. I should have said kindly and I should have said clearly, but I shouldn't have just pushed it. Oh, it's okay. That person's just busy, or it's okay. That person's just in a bad mood, or it's okay. It's not, if I'm feeling like it's not okay, it's okay to communicate. Actually, I need to communicate that.
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh
it's also
man,
okay
good.
for people to respond however they respond. But that's the thing that I'm really leaning into, is coming back online with my feeling, because I think what this is, it's not about other people. It's about, when we have these feelings that come on so strongly, it's about ourselves.
Mm,
And I think what I need to reclaim for myself is my communication. I was designed to be a communicator. And that is always it is it's the fun communications, but it's also the crucial, challenging conversations that I'm
mm.
actually really, really good at, and should not be afraid to do, even if it feels small. Like, why are you making a big deal? I'm not making a big deal. I'm just speaking truthfully about it.
Wow, Tracy, you are. I love this show. Let me tell you what I just went through. And I want to say it as I'm gonna call this scenario as a client.
Mm,
Yeah, one of my clients. So I'm in the room, in the conference room, in a meeting with leaders, and the the top dog says, "You're all you've all failed," and I mean just went in. The conversation had a main topic that the other leaders weren't picking up. The way he delivered the second part of saying you're failing was very disrespectful. In my mind, the disrespect didn't amp up to the need to explain what he was communicating at the time in my mind. So I stuck on the disrespect, nobody would have gotten what he was communicating. So I said, man, he's not talking to me. Um, I'm going to explain this thing that he's speaking. So I explained it, and they're like, yeah, yeah, we're right. So we get home, and then Verlin says, did you see how this person spoke? And I was like, yeah, I said I did. But he wasn't talking to me. She says, nah, that's a lie. I said, you were in that, she said, you were in that room. Though he wasn't talking to you, there's a day coming that it's gonna be you. And then my light bulb just pew. I go, you know what? You're right. You are so right. And then I start to go through the process, and Tracy, this person is a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. And it's a topic, it's a hard conversation. And the conversation, I'm looking at the conversation, I'm seeing multiple ways it could go. But you said it. If you give it gracefully, lovingly, but you'll carry your point across, it's going to go across, and you communicate it well. Tracy, I called that meeting. A couple of days later, we got in that room, and all the leaders were, elephant in the room style, like, okay. So I'm waiting for them because they know why we called the leader in. I'm like, I gotta talk. I don't want to be the one to speak all the time. So, but when you have the grace to do it, you're supposed to be the one to do it. No other
yeah.
person can do it. So I just go, man, look, I didn't say it like this, and just there's a way to speak, and just went across everything that was stated, how it was stated, how it was wrong to speak to people this way, and it was a hard conversation. After everything, the leader goes, And they started to speak and to say, and he went, "I'm sorry." You'll be quite surprised that people started to cry in the room. They started to cry. Um, Afterwards, somebody said, "This person has always done this, but maybe it's the culture we didn't even know that it was wrong, that what they were doing. But now my heart feels like I am seen. My heart feels like my work is has been what you call it, validated. I feel like I'm doing something." And I told the person, "No, you don't feel that way. You already knew you were doing it. Don't let the leader, you know yourself. Know that it's not what somebody projects on you that makes you. It's who you are within that makes you." But the point here is those hard conversations where you wake up in the night and you go, "How am I going to say this? How am I, okay, can I go this route? Can I go?" And then you even go and talk to other leaders and say, "Give me your insight, right, on these things." And you get it, and it's still hard. But then when you get to the table, you have to do it because there's no other way of doing it. And at the end, we hugged. The organization became a better organization because of that.
Mhm.
So, Tracy, keep speaking. That's why your voice is needed. Keep speaking. The There are people who just can't speak, and it's not that they can't speak; they don't know how to formulate the argument or the situation, and verbally provide the solution or assist in facilitating the solution. That's a gift.
Mm.
That is a gift.
Well, and I
And
think to your point, a lot of people don't know until it's pointed out the impact of them speaking a certain way or not communicating when they need to, right? And so when we point that out, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize you were feeling disrespected, or that it's having that awareness to be able to
yeah.
see how the way you are, your behavior is landing with other people is a gift, right? And what we do with that gift is up to us, right? When that man told me he
Mm,
couldn't work with me years ago because my heart wasn't open and he needed someone who was transparent and vulnerable and, to help him as a leader, and I wasn't there yet, that I chose to receive that gift. And it was a hard one to receive, but it was a necessary one. And I think that's the thing is you got to be able to take what you dish out, right? I think a lot of
yeah.
people think they can dish it out, but then they have a really hard time taking it. Or people just take it and they don't learn how to properly dish it back.
Yes.
I think both sides important. It's and again, to speak, you said it, to speak from the heart, to speak with love, to speak with dignity and
Mm,
respect. And because I always speak because it matters. If it doesn't matter to me, it's not going to be a thorn in my side. It's
correct.
automatic. My body is going to tell me it's not a problem because I'm not going to feel challenged,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But if I have a challenge and there's something eating away at me, like this is really bugging me, and I'm not a person to make mountains out of molehills. So if this is standing out for me, there's
Yeah.
something I need to be doing here,
Mm,
right? So it's not even about the other person, but it is about being able to say, okay, what is this? And I get to do it from a place of ownership. I'm reaching out because it matters. I'm reaching out because I'm disappointed. That was the word I used. I'm disappointed.
mm,
I'm disappointed, and the expectation was set, and I haven't heard anything from you, and I'm disappointed, right? I'm owning it. I didn't say I'm disappointed in you. I said I'm
that's true.
disappointed,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
And so I think again, this is why I focus on communication. And I think for me, really embodying what I believe is important, living my life in accordance and walking the talk is
Mm,
paramount. And I'm not talking about perfection. We're human. We're not going to be perfect. But if we're always subscribing to be the way that feels best to us, if I don't believe in firearms, I'm not going to invest in companies that create firearms. I'm just using that as an example. If I don't
Mhm.
believe in drugs, right, I'm not gonna, spend a lot of money on drugs, right? Or invest in things that just create more, people drugging themselves as opposed to looking for the real core. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's place and time for drugs in certain instances, but not at the level we're using them now.
Hmm.
And I don't want to subscribe to that. I don't want to be a part of a system that is just drugging people. Then I need to make changes and choices in my life,
Yeah.
right, to ensure that I am walking that talk, right? And
Hmm.
and I think that if we each did that, it would be a very different place to live in. But I think, my job is not to make sure everybody else is doing it. It's to say how much of my life is congruent with what I believe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Am I showing the way
Mm.
through? Am I being the change I want to see? And if I'm not, no shame, no blame, but how can I make it better? Right? If I'm making a mistake, then I can learn from that. I don't need to chastise myself, or I don't need to hide from that, or I don't need to, I mean, the fact that, I really do realize how much the gaining my voice back again when it comes to crucial conversations, although I'm really good at it, I've shied away from it because of many, many things that have happened in my life. But I
Hmm.
can't blame those things. I can't keep saying, well, because I was treated this way or that way. That's just victimhood, right? And that keeps me small, because if I'm here to be a communicator and to help other people and show other people how to effectively communicate, if I'm not doing it, then how am I going to do that? Right. And I'm just saying that for myself. Each of us has
Correct.
a design. Each of us has these traits and talents, and we tend to be most challenged in them. We're most challenged in our greatest gifts,
Uh,
is something
woo.
that I find. So I'm leaning into that. And I just appreciate being able to talk about it and share it today.
Wow. We have what, 2 more minutes to get this. Why are you dropping this gem at the end?
Oh, that
We
we're
are
most
most
challenged in our greatest
challenged in
gifts.
our greatest gifts. And what you said is, congruence to what you believe. Be your actions are congruent to what you believe. It pains me to laugh at something that's not laughable, but because I'm a humorous person and my response is, and I go, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go, that's really not funny, or not even give a reaction. Just and that congruence to what I believe. It truly, if you're true to yourself, man, you will find yourself doing a lot of things when you're watching it. You will find yourself the how not just how you are veering off without being cognizant, being in the present, being right, how incongruent you are. But Tracy, we got 45 more seconds to go. You take this and wrap it up and say our goodbyes.
Well, I mean, I think you said it. I think, we've said it in this episode, and it being the 100th one, I think is kind of cool. Is that, that we only have control and responsibility for ourselves ultimately. I mean, I'm not talking about the type of responsibility as parents for our children when they're small and that kind of thing. I'm talking about the way we show up in our lives. Like, we can't force people to be responsible, accountable, in control of themselves, all of that, but we can with ourselves. And although we've been told that in a number of ways, I think the practice has been the opposite, trying to control others, hold other people account. It's like, how can I'm successful when I can make sure everybody else is doing what they need to do. So we need to turn
Hmm.
that back around and put the cart behind the horse,
Yes.
and really take responsibility and look at those places where maybe we're not speaking up, or pay attention to your body and your feelings.
Yeah.
Are there things that are telling you that you're frustrated or burnt out or whatever, and lean into those and figure out what you need to do to rectify
Yep. Hey, Tracy, 100 looks good on you.
that.
Uh,
Back at you, Chris.
you guys take care. See you in 2 weeks. Have a good one. Take
Thanks.
care, Tracy.
You too, roll with